So I didn't bring any cookies with me today, but we do have with us Eyad Zarea from Mars, who's the META Regional Media Director, and Adel Baraja, who's the Marketing Director for Volkswagen Group, and Philip Macartney, who's the VP Head of EMEA Affinio. Because I've got the mic. Okay. Thank you all for joining us today. So we're going to talk about, can you all hear me with this? Yeah? Okay. So we're going to talk about personalization in marketing and how data is going to help drive that for the next year and coming years to follow. So we've always been taught that brands are storytellers, right? And we've been doing this storytelling for years, and we've been doing it based on a demographic or a lifestyle stage, right? I mean, you guys have written the briefs where you say, I'd like to target a mom 25 to 34 who is active, right? And then on the agency side, we go, right, who is that mom? And what's happening now is that through data and through the information that we have available through technology, we're able to color in all of those facets of who is that mom, right? And that mom is also leading her own stories on digital. So she's leaving chapters and paragraphs and little edits for us to pick up. And that's changing sort of the dynamic of who's the lead communicator in communication, in branding communication, and who is telling these stories. So I think that today you've got some of the best people to answer these questions. So to start off, I don't know if you guys all know what Affinio does, but Affinio is a consumer intelligence marketing company. And their program is, I don't want to say program, but they're able to understand social graphs and interpret them for better marketing intelligence, right?
You did a great job there. I couldn't do better than that myself. I'm not saying another word. You're fantastic at that.
Okay, that might be a hard panel. So we wanted to know specifically from you, what do clients talk about when we're getting to this, like taking big data to a micro level or to a nano level, and what does that mean in the storytelling process?
So for us, hello everybody, by the way. So for us at Affinio, our clients now want to move past demographics. Demographics still has a use for our clients, but they want to be able to have real conversations with the audience now, real conversations with their consumers. They want to be able to engage with the consumers on a level where that consumer feels like they're in a proper conversation. So if you take that back to a normal people meeting each other, it's about finding out what makes you tick, what your passions are, what your interests are. And that's really what Affinio was born out of. It was born out of a need for marketers and advertisers to start to speak, dare I say it, normally to an audience.
Human side.
But on a more personal level. And what's more personal than the things that you're interested in? So that's what we're seeing. And it's a wave that's now sort of started, it very much started in New York, but it is, very quickly moving right across the globe now as our Affinio, which I'm very glad to say. So that's how we see it happening, yeah.
Okay. And how do you guys see that coming across in your brand communications?
At Volkswagen, our macro and nano segmentation and listening tools are focused on social media. So we are able to, for example, understand the consumer the way Affinio is trying to explain, but we will know more about what our consumers or followers like, tweet about, talk about, what books they read, what colors they prefer. And by gathering all this data, we have a better understanding of how do we customize our ads to them. Do we show, for example, a white car or a red car? Then we are able to have a better interaction with the consumer. Instead of just saying, like you mentioned at the introduction, we do not just target a male 26 to 35 with this income, because that will be obsolete for us.
And have you seen that, thank you. Have you seen that result in positive sales increase specifically in MENA?
I can speak for Saudi Arabia, and I can tell you that we have definitely increased lead generation and the quality of the leads, specifically. As Volkswagen Group, we are not a direct retailer, so we do not sell the cars directly. So our role will be the lead generation, and that have been at least 18% last year in increase, and hopefully this year will be more.
Inshallah. And Eyad, have you seen the same sort of positive results going on at Mars?
Before I talk about the results itself, I'd like to talk about also how we are a bit different as FMCG. I mean, we are much more about mass reach, okay? So previously we thought that, and we still believe that, like a lot of people watch our ads, especially until completion, and what I would say data or technology offered us is that, and because you mentioned at the beginning that, like consumers are also competing with us, so there is a lot of competition between us, nice competition between us and consumer to their share of time. Now, as I mentioned, we thought that we put our ads on TV and everybody is watching it until the end. Now, what we discover, and I'm sure everybody knows that completion rate today is not as we thought. It's, for example, they start as 100% and then we end up in the range of 10, 15%. So to us, this is something that's, quite surprising, which is very low rates compared to what we thought. And this is where we need to adapt, okay? So technology and data helps us to do that. To be frank, today what we are doing is we cannot develop so many copies to cater for all the different types of consumers or viewers. But what we are trying to understand is what really makes them drop, why the ones who completed really completed it, and try to adapt somehow versus, doing so many copies, at least trying to make our copies fit as much as we can to the consumers. We are not yet, to be frank, we didn't yet reach where we can see results in terms of sales. We have other metrics to look at internally. But I'm sure that one day we will find a way to link it. In other markets, we link sales to advertising, but here, because of the data availability, especially on mass media, it's not possible to do that.
Mars is unique because you've been able to customize media, but you also customize your product as well, or packaging of your product, right? There's the very famous M&Ms where you could have written in and gotten things. A friend of mine got them for their wedding where it said Mr. and Mrs. But you can do it on Snickers packaging, I think it was, as well. Can you talk about how you guys are evolving even your production line for personalization?
Yeah. To be frank, we don't, what you're talking about is my M&Ms, which is available in the US. We don't have this here. For several reasons. M&Ms specifically is not produced here. We produce other brands here, Galaxy and Snickers and others. But it's really, for mass, especially for a category leader, okay? We have more than 50% of the market in terms of chocolate. Customization of our products, especially, in a very personalized way, is a bit difficult. What we try to do is really maybe customizing, for example, the displays, customizing the offering, customizing to some extent. Also, we did last year something on jewels, which is the gifting proposition, which is jawahir in Arabic. So, which is trying to customize it and making it in in a wrapped way, as per the consumer, or the buyer. We did something also in Galaxy. We called it Say It with Galaxy, which is kind of the pack itself to be, the product is a bit difficult for us, to be frank, to customize it. We are mass product. But hopefully, we will one day reach that stage where we can customize the product itself to meet the consumer needs.
So talking about the future and being able to customize in the future, who do you guys see as we move further along into a more personalized or more customized or more meaningful way of communication? Who do you see as the partners that are going to help push that forward in MENA specifically?
Well, for us, we work across agency, brand, and media. And really, to see this going forward, we need all three to really buy in to this new data-led world. What you'll find is that the brands usually start it and go, we need to see this now. And that filters very quickly into the agencies where the push is, we need to be able to also see that. It probably starts somewhere in between pitch and brief, in that fireball that is pitch and brief. But where we find potential sticking points is when we hit the media, is when we hit the place where we're going to push this outwards. Digital media and social media like Facebook, etc., they're data-centric. They get this. This is not a problem to them. They can give us that data and they can help us do it. But traditional media outlets are not data-centric, or are not as data-centric, I should say. And I think that for us, we have some amazing data partners in the likes of the BBC and Turner Media and stuff like that. So we're not without them, but the more on the publishing/media side that we can see adopting this methodology and adopting this type of thinking, the better it's going to be.
It's interesting when you talk about media as a sort of a roadblock or a stopping point, because it talks about how data and technology is changing the entire ecosystem of communication, right? So for a brand ecosystem, you can go on Adel in Volkswagen, from call centers all the way to the dealers, and then even service, and back through and resell, right? And then in your communication, there are so many different partners that you have that are able to deliver personalized messaging across that whole spectrum. How is data and technology changing even the selection of partners or the type of partners that you would look to be able to deliver personalized messaging across that whole ecosystem?
Christine, I can tell you that I might need everybody to sign an NDA after this question. No, but to make it short,
we're happy to do that.
We have already at Volkswagen established partners that help us mine the data that we need and make sense out of them, because not everything from the first instance would make any sense. Because, for example, the basic thing would be, okay, let us find the first touch point with a customer, somebody who is searching for a car. This cannot be more direct than that. But using data and using more sophisticated tools, we are able to approach people who didn't maybe consider buying a car today or this month. Somebody who is, for example, looking to buy a baby stroller. We then gather that they might want to upgrade their car, or they will need to upgrade their car. Another thing would be getting a promotion at work. That would be exactly the same. So this is the first touch points, and this is where we really want to focus on the top point in the funnel. The wider the funnel is, then the more leads that it would generate at the end. So through the journey of the customer, from a consideration point to an interest to finally a purchase and coming back to after sales, or even resell the car and upsell with another car. All the data that comes in is managed with apps, is managed with insights driven by our own apps. We know when the customer will prefer to pick up his car or drop off his car. And that's it. I will not mention partners, but this is it.
Okay. So it definitely is it's a broader ecosystem, I think, of partners that you have. But it was interesting, as you started the response, you said that I need to sign an NDA, which kind of leads down to another roadblock that I think we all face. I know we see it from an agency position of how to get the ads out there, but how does privacy affect, or how do you think it's going to affect where we're going in terms of mining data and even using it to either create different creatives, or how you talk to someone? Like, where's the line between personalized and creepy?
Shall I answer this? Well, fortunately for us, younger generation, that means like me and do not mind to share their data as long as they get something in return. That's a customized service. Just imagine how would Netflix or Amazon would look like if you did not allow them to guess what you like or offer you with services. So this is exactly what is happening in automotive. It's not as restricted as before. People are not afraid as before. So with us, at least, it's working good.
Do you see similar openness in FMCG?
I would take, I think FMCGs and most of the companies, they are very strict in terms of privacy. So we have to internally sign. We have to, even for example, if I am on one of the social media sites, I have to, if I want to respond or talk, I have to declare that I work for Mars and so on. And to be frank, I would say about Mars, I worked at P&G also before, are very conservative and very strict in these things. We get trainings almost every month in terms of marketing code. We don't, for example, at Mars target or reach to consumers or advertise to kids below 12 years old. And if you think about it as consumers, even for us, it's very, you don't want also, you want to have your space, okay? I see that I hate it, for example, when I go from one site to another and I find that site is following me. So I start to feel like, okay, now I'm being watched. So, and even when I need to get some data, I have to fill forms. I think we as consumers feel that, but I think also as advertisers, we have to be wary of that. We try, for example, to how we go around this in a good way, that we try to cap frequency, for example, so we don't show you the ad, so maybe one more, but that's it. But we try to exclude you from our advertising unless you opt in or something like that. It's really very strict. I think FMCGs are more, I would say, on the conservative side versus, okay, let's try and then, okay, we'll apologize or something. I think we are very, strict in this area.
I think just quickly on that point, I think one thing that I've seen, both working on the brand side and on the intelligence side as well, is being upfront and honest with the consumer is generally the best policy nowadays. I mean, certainly my generation and the generation below me, a lot more media savvy than the ones ahead of us, a lot more understanding of the technology and why we're getting it. And you only need to look at, platforms like Netflix. Netflix tell you why, you watch this, so that's why we're recommending these to you. You watch this, that's why. If they didn't have that message above it, creepy. But if they're telling you why they're putting it in front of you, less creepy.
So there's an element, I think, of consumer trust or transparency that has to happen as you move forward to customizing all of your content and communication with your consumers.
I think so.
I think this is, I'm not sure how we're running out of time, but I think this might be my last question. What do you see, each of you, what do you see as the next leap forward of technology for you personally in the communication? So going, and I think this is actually a good sort of spectrum. So going from a brand that has the right, let's say, to talk very personally across the whole stage, to a brand that may have more of a barrier with it, and then from an ecosystem standpoint of view.
Yeah, I would say, to be frank, we are still very mass media centric. I think not only Mars, but a lot of FMCGs, and especially in this region. I mean, for several reasons. It's not because we love mass media. It's really because, mass media delivers, I would say, the mass reach we want. It delivers it even on a regional basis, which is in this region is different than in other markets like the US and the UK and others. Regional, I mean pan-Arab, for example, versus regional within the country. It is, I would say, relatively still we can afford it. I wouldn't say it's cheap, but still we can afford it at high frequency levels, which is what works in our category. I think where I would love to see, mass media is one they need to evolve. Okay, so today, for how long will we continue to use data or rely on the data that's not really, I would say, people meter, for example, which is a big topic by itself, but even outdoor and other media, in other markets, they have already adapted. They started to at least venture in this area. And we would love to see that, and it doesn't have to be competition between digital and mass media. I think they can work together to help, because even in the US, okay, where if you look at how much our investment as FMCGs, we still invest heavily behind mass media. With all the data they have there, we still use a lot on TV. Still, we use maybe 60-40 between TV and digital. So TV will continue. Okay, I'm not like I don't have a TV station here, but it's really like how do we make sure that digital helps us like solve the issues we have. I think that's one of the things I'd like digital to come to. One, in terms of creative, TV can't help us on that. We didn't discover that people don't watch our ads fully, like with that massive dropout, until digital gave it to us. I think targeting is another area, which is also how can TV and digital work it together. So I think the next stage would be is how can they work together to improve the way that like we reach our consumers today.
After you.
Well, I don't think it's technologies or lack of infrastructure and agencies that is missing for the future. I think brands should be the ones driving better quality data, insights, and require that work from the agencies. Right now, brands who want to succeed will be the ones like to think, not to think platform and formats, but the ones, for example, that leverage programmatic to understand their audiences, understand their data. And not many brands do that because their website, their CMS don't accept or don't gather that data for them, and they have to request it from IT department, and it will take 5 years to upgrade. So this is exactly what is pulling back from letting this industry really boom.
Right. So it's like almost like baseline in-house technology that you have to get sorted before you can even ask the rest, your agencies and the marketplace to get everything up.
Correct. That's 100%. And this is something that we suffered ourselves a few years back, trying to upgrade our CRM systems, connecting our dealer network with our own CRM system. So definitely it's a pain. Not the technology.
Right. I'm sure you see a lot of pain points as well when you're working with your clients. But what are the barriers? But then what are also the easy things that you can overcome, so we can think about how we move forward quickly?
Nothing is easy. No, I'm only joking. So the great thing about some of our key clients is that we have people who get this. It's a term that's always sort of tried and tested. But when you have someone in the organization with a senior title, influence, who gets this, it makes it easier, because precisely to that point, we're trying to get into the entire organization first. If I had my way, you would go brand first, then agency, then media, because it's precisely that. Brand needs to understand the DNA of the audiences it's trying to attract towards its product. But so the real way that happens is that you need leaders within that company who get it and who can help bring that in. When that happens, it makes it it makes the whole process a lot easier. When you're having to go stage by stage, step by step, and not have a handhold through it. And I've done that on the brand side as well, so I know how difficult it can be to do it. But it really is just having that leader within that company to drive that agenda forward, because all of the hooks are already in place. All of the systems are already there, and our technology has APIs, everything has APIs, everything's able to talk to each other now. You really just need a driver within the business to bring it through, and that should help it.
Great. Thank you all for coming. Are there any questions?
I was wondering, I remember a couple of years ago we were hearing a lot out of Europe and North America about data privacy, and I don't feel like we ever had this dialogue in the Arab world. Do you think this is because consumers witnessed it happening in the West and they simply don't care and they appreciate the value? Do you think they don't know why they're getting the service or how they're getting the service? Do you think there should be more effort to make consumers aware. Because at the end of the day, if the consumers don't know, then there's no drive to regulate. And even though each of you mentioned your own organizations policing themselves and setting limits to themselves, others may not. And there may be some abuse of the data without regulation.
So, did you have an answer?
Yeah, definitely. All right, in the Western world, let's say US, Europe, there is an issue with data privacy, not for marketing, but maybe for government usage. With us as well, we don't have that issue because in the Arab world, we allow marketing usage exactly for the same benefits. So we have the same direction. And we don't have the same concerns that they have. They're not worried that their government is spying on them.
I think there's another element to it where one of the speakers earlier today was talking about adoption rates that happen so quickly here versus in developed world because they've already gone through the troubles. So just like we were talking about how, now we know you have to be transparent, you have to be honest. You don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z because we've already learned it from other places. So I think it's just a quicker way of doing it.
Hi. You mentioned something earlier about how in the States and in Europe, you're able to create more personalized marketing, such as, if you want to personalize the packaging, etc., but you're unable to do that here because the kind of data available here is very limited. So I want to know what is limited, what kind of data do you require in this market in order for you as a brand to be able to do more personalized marketing and more consumer-related connection.
Yeah, I was referring more about, I think, customization of products. Now, definitely, in general, this region doesn't have the sophistication and reliability of data. And I'm not talking about digital. I think digital has a lot of data. The issue is that, it's kind of, digital has so many data that seriously, we as marketers and advertisers sometimes don't know, what is really important for us to use, and definitely this where the agency also helps us, and the media themselves, so Facebook, Google, and so on. So I think we lack the data or reliability of data in everything. Okay, so for example, we lack data in terms of retail data that's reliable. Okay, so today. In the U.S., for example, there are different companies that collect or get with the opting in or approval of the purchasing of the buyers, shoppers, that we can use their data, for example, to send them specialized offer. Today, here with the retailers, this is not available, okay? And we don't use it only to reach them, to give them offers. We really, for example, want to improve our offering to them. The issue that we can't hold this data, okay? It's either the retailers don't want to offer it for several reasons. Okay, either they don't have it, or they are not maybe trusting that we can really protect it. So while in the US this is available. Okay, so there are several companies that does this. Dan and Humby, I think, one of them. If you think about also TV, put aside outdoor and other media, the data that we have today, like for example, when I look at my plan in media and I see that I reach all consumers at enough, I would say reach and frequency. But actually, I know that we are not really reaching those people. Either, it's because it's claimed data, so there is top of mind, thinking, but also that people are not sitting, they put it and they leave. Now, I know People Meter doesn't solve this issue, but at least, if digital can help us, find this, when people dual screening, for example, how can we reach people who are not paying attention, or how can we reach people who are, they just switch it on but not really watching, because then my ad is not really working or not engaging. So there is, there is a lot of, I would say, data, but it's not really of good quality, and the retailer data is a big issue also by itself.
Anyone else? No? Okay, well, I'll just say thank you again for coming on stage and talking to us about privacy, that's where we ended, but personalization of marketing trends that we're going to see in 2016. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.